Hello, in this tutorial we will learn how to create info panel for our application. This panel will tell us everything about the configurator, its settings and current setup. Alright, let's start. First, let's create another tab. Let's name it Info Panel. And as always, we will start by creating div element. Let's also call it Info Panel. This will be a container for all elements that we will need later. Next, let's create a class for our new elements right away. It will be also called Info Panel. And let's apply it. Let's put the block with the style parameters here. Set the background's color to white. The width will be 160 pixels and height 245. Let's press play, and here we have our elements. Next, let's set its position. Let's add a parameter right here, because it will be aligned to the right side of the screen. Tab and also margin tab, so we can move it later. From the right, the margin will be 10 pixels, 50% from tab, and margin tab will be 122.5 pixels. Let's press play, and now our element is in a center. Now let's set a border for the element. We need border parameter, and let's type in solid gray 1 pixel. Alright, now we have a border. Next, let's add some roundness to the element. With the border radius parameter, set it to 4 pixels. Let's add some charm by adding a shadow. 0 pixels, 0 pixels and 4 pixels blur, and color gray. Alright, now the element is more pronounced. And of course, let's add font here. We will not directly type in anything into these elements, but everything that we add to these elements will automatically inherit this font. So this font will be set for all elements inside of the main one. So let's type in our already familiar font, Oswald, and press run code, though we will not see anything because we don't have anything typed in. So let's add our first element to this panel. This element will show current dimensions of the cabinet. Let's add here another add HTML div element and call it model size. Here let's add text input and type in our panel name, Info Panel. This element will automatically be added inside of this panel. Let's also create a class for model size and accordingly name it. And let's set up its parameters. The position will be set to static. That is because we'll have a lot of different elements and we want them to be placed one after another. Let's set background's color to transparent, so we don't see background, and let's set width 100%. so the element will inherit the width of the main panel. As for the height, it will be automatic. So it will depend on the content that will be inside it. To actually see the results of what we have set up, we need to add something inside of these elements. So for now, temporarily, let's type something in. Let's type in model size and colon. Let's press play, and here we have it. Now let's just set it up. Let's add color, black, then we need font size. Let's set it to 20 pixels. Next, let's align it with text align parameter and set it to center. Let's press play, and our text is in a center. Next, let's add another parameter, border bottom. This parameter adds a border, but only on bottom. We need this type of border because we don't need the border to be all around the elements, but still we want to separate the first elements from others, so we will have a line here. Let's set it up, solid, gray, 1 pixel. Alright, now we have a visible border underneath the element. Next, let's change thickness of the font. For that, we need parameter font weight. And here, let's select bold. Alright, now the font became thicker. And the next parameter that we need is minimal height. Here we have height already set to automatic. So in case that the height is really small, the text may even disappear, or will be impossible to read. So let's set the minimum height for the text to 30 pixels. Alright, here everything is set up. Now we just need to gather the measurements of the cabinet and type them into the element. Let's go here to text and grab the element which is called create text. And let's put it here. Next, let's add a text element here and type in model size. It will be text info to explain what the parameters which will come later mean. As for the measurements, we will get them from these inputs. So let's grab puzzle, gets property. We will be getting value, and let's start with W size. Let's see how it works. And here we go, we have 0.8. So 0.8 meters. And actually let's add another text element at the end. It will tell us that the measurements are set in meters. Also we can add, for example, X or some specific symbol, which will be between the measurements. So let's say 1 meter on 1 meter on 1 meter. Between them needs to be X. We can go to this website or similar, which have Unicode symbols. And here we can find the multiply symbol. Let's copy it and paste here. Let's press play, and that's how it will look. Now let's add some more inputs for other measurements. Alright, now let's select the second measurement. It will be depth or D size. And let's just copy and paste this text input here. Then let's set the height input from H size and add it here as well. Let's press play, and now we have all the measurements. Let's just delete the multiply symbol at the end. Now we have the indication of the measurements, however, we need to check it each time when we change it. And after checking, we need to refresh it, because if we change something right now, nothing will change in the panel. Basically right now we only have default sizes. To fix this, first I will create a new procedure, where I will place all this structure. Let's call the procedure Recalculate Model Size. Now let's go back under Size tab and place this procedure to each puzzle on event of change. So each time we change the measurements, it will recalculate all the data and put the correct data into the panel. Let's press play and see how it works. And here we go, the panel corresponds correctly to any measurement changes that we apply to our model. But there is still one problem. If I reload the application, we will not have anything here. So we need to also start this procedure right when the application starts. So let's place it here, save and reload. Alright, now everything is working. It calculates the measurements at the start of the application and then recalculates it each time we change anything. Next, let's set up another element. It will show us which color is selected. So let's add another div element, the set property puzzle, and let's call it table color. And here as well. Now let's copy and paste here the text input info panel, so it will be inside of the panel. As for the class, let's assign already created model size class, because we need all these strings to look the same. Only model size element will be 2 strings tall, while all other elements will be 1 string tall, and one string will be about 30 pixels tall, which our minimum height is set to. Alright, let's press play, and here we have our second panel, and of course it is 30 pixels tall. Now let's add a possibility to set color here. For that, we will need another div. Let's call it simply color. And we need to add it inside of the freshly created text element table color. And now here we will create another class using create CSS rule puzzle. And let's call it color. Let's drag here property panel. The position will be static, and as for background color, let's delete it, because we will be changing it dynamically. The width will be 60 pixels, it is already like this, and height 30 pixels. It will be the height for this string. Next, let's add a left property and set it to 0 pixels, so the element will be aligned to the left of the main panel. Then let's set floats to right and background size to 200 pixels. We need some pixels to show the texture selected. We need this so the texture will not be too stretched. Alright, let's press play. And again we don't see any changes because we don't have anything inside of this panel. So let's start gathering the background color for the panel. For that we need to go to Logic and grab if operator. We need to check what exactly is selected, the color or the wood texture. If the color is selected, we will paint it this color. And if the texture is selected, we will use this texture as background. Let's drag here comparison puzzle. And then from the materials puzzle, we will need the puzzle get value. Here let's select table mat material, and here let's select the value switcher. And the logic will go like this. If the value is 0, then we get the color. And if it is 1 or not 0, then we will get the texture. Next, we will need the puzzle set style for element. And here let's select the parameter background's color. As for the color, well, we will just take it directly from the material. For that, let's grab get color puzzle, place it here, and select the hex color format. The material is table mats and the node RGB, and all this setup is for the element's color. Alright, now let's select some color, let's say green, and press play. And here we go. Now we have the panel indicating the green color. Okay, now let's set up the wooden texture. It will require mostly the same setup. Let's copy it and change background's color to background image. And here we need to manually type in the path to the image file. In this example, it is called walnut base color.jpg for elements color. But if I press play now and even select the texture here, nothing will change in the panel, because this whole setup needs to be activated exactly when we switch color. So let's place this whole setup into a procedure. Let's call it recalculate model color, and also we need to add here set style background image to none. So when we choose the color option, the background image will be set to none, so they don't interfere with each other. And background's color will always be under the background image. Alright, let's save. Add the procedure recalculates model color, so it will calculate the color option right at the start of the application. Then let's go to the color tab. And here in the procedure animate material, let's add when finished do slot. In this slot, we need to add our new procedure, recalculates model color. Alright, let's save, go to application and check how it works. Right at the application starts, we see that the wood texture is active. And if we change to color, now we see the correct indication for it. Now we only need to add some text, which will explain what this panel means. Let's get set property puzzle here, and we will be changing the inner HTML parameter. Also, let's type in here color. Let's save and press play, and here we have our text. Next, we need to add a list of all the options which were chosen by the user. And we will add them here to this panel. And this time we will not start by adding a new div. First we need to add a new cycle. That is because we don't actually know which options have been chosen and which objects are on a scene. Well, at least we don't know yet. So we need to run through the whole list of possible options for the cupboards. And if the element is selected and the object is visible, it will be added to the list on a panel here. And if the object is hidden, it will not be added. Back in Blender, we have already added all these objects to the group. So we will be addressing the whole group, which contains all these elements. The group is called Table. Also, we will need the puzzle Get Objects From. Let's choose Mesh and add our group here. This puzzle creates a list from all the elements that are in the group. So this puzzle will cycle through all the objects from this list and check if they are visible or not. During each cycle, this puzzle will add each element from this group to variable I. So also we will need the puzzle if and puzzle the condition is visible. And here we need to add our I variable. So for example, on the first cycle, the frame of the cabinet will be added to I. Then this puzzle will check if it is visible or not, and add it to the panel accordingly. So inside of this puzzle, we need to put add HTML div. We will be adding these elements inside our main container or right panel. And the name we will create automatically. Here we will need only one item, and it will just copy the name of the element. Now let's set the class for it. We will use the class that we have created previously, model size. Also inside of this element, we need to add the name of the element. Also let's fix the class name. And as we pressed run code, we now have 3 elements added to the panel. These are the elements currently visible, so box, legs and shelf. If we selected some other elements like the drawers or sliding panel or some other, they would have been added here as well. Now we need to add this whole setup into a procedure. And let's call it Recalculate Model Items. Alright, let's save it. Also add it here in the beginning. And also let's go to the Front tab. And also add it into each puzzle on event of click. So each time when we hide or reveal the objects, the procedure will recalculate its list. Alright, let's save and check in the application. And here we go, right at the start, we have 3 elements in the list. And if we reveal the doors, they will also automatically be added to the list. Let's select something else, and now we have a problem. The previous elements are not deleted from the list. So let's fix it. Let's go back to Puzzles, back to Info Panel tab, and here into If Puzzle, let's also add Else. So when the element isn't visible, we will automatically delete it. For that, we will need the puzzle Remove HTML Elements. And here we need to plug in Create Text with I. So the cycle will go through all the elements. If the element is visible, it will be added. If it is not visible, it will be deleted. Let's save, reload the application and try it. Adding the doors works perfectly. Adding sliding door also works perfectly. Let's select drawers and hide everything again. Alright, now everything works perfectly. That's all. See you in the next tutorial.